I was gonna say, how come we're not on? It's because I didn't put us in the stream.
I'm like staring at my own face. I'm like, that's something I want to be doing right now.
Well, welcome back, everybody. It's time for another Trek Watch, a crossover of the Oh Yeah podcast and Word Balloon. John Suntress here, along with my buddy Franco, my crewmate. And we are very excited because it's a new Star Trek series debuting today on CBS All Access and also on Canadian TV. I don't know where it is on Canadian TV. Perhaps our viewers can tell us. But yes, everybody, it's time for us to talk about Star Trek Lower Decks. Welcome, Dante. Nice to see you. Welcome to all of you watching. I am going to BS for a couple of seconds before we get into the episode because we are going to spoil.
Yes, big time.
We have seen the episode. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, you might want to come back and talk later. But I'm sure a lot of anxious Star Trek fans have already watched it. I've already seen comments. Man, YouTube already has a handful of pre-recorded interviews. As I understand it, Francis,
we're not first? I thought we were first.
We were not first. As I understand it, they did have a press viewing of it yesterday, and it included at least, or maybe even a day or two earlier, and they showed 2 episodes. So some people, and I'm already hearing that before we get into judgment, that a lot of people are like, watch the first 2 episodes before you judge.
It's so I've already seen the first episode, so
exactly. And boy, all right, people are chiming in. Canadian Yoko Chips Blaine tells us Canada gets it on Space now. CTV Sci-Fi if watching on broadcast, and then it streams on Crave. And Dante liked it. That's excellent to hear, man.
Well, there you go.
So So
hold on, my dog's making a whole bunch of noise. Go sit.
No worries. Sport.
Yeah.
That's all right. Is he named? What was Archer's dog's name again? Porthos.
Yeah.
The little basset hound.
Yeah, Porthos. That's what I have here, and looks nothing like Porthos, and doesn't act anything like Star Trek Judgment. I love that. Couple things. Usually we have Mitch here, but he's away. He's on an away assignment with. He might be dead. He was on an. He was wearing a red shirt when he beamed down to that planet, so we don't know if he's coming back or not.
He's like Sulu in the one where the transporter makes good Kirk and evil Kirk, where he's down on the planet and they can't, he can't beam back up. But as everyone points out, it's like, how about sending down a shuttle to get him? Boy, we're really freezing down here. We could really use some coffee right now. Oh my! And it's like shuttle. So it was the B story. We didn't care.
Yeah.
Evil Kirk. Oh man. So let's.
They just didn't care about their crewmates. It's awful.
It's true, man, and kind of the theme of Lower Decks because. And first of all, let's speak in general terms. I really like the premise. I think it's a fun idea for a parody comedy to focus on, the shit jobs that probably still have to get done in the Federation and everything, and in Starfleet. So I like all that as far as the premise and everything. So there's a good way to start.
I'm gonna maybe shock people because I'm in total agreement with you there. I like the premise. I know that when we saw the trailer, there were a lot of people who were kind of dumping on the trailer, and I'm like, well, you got to give it a chance. You can't just dump on the trailer, right? And by the trailer, I was like, okay, I'll buy into the premise. I like it. I want to give it a chance, and I like the idea. I like the idea of concentrating on these guys doing the crappy jobs, and you know what? I liked it. I liked the first episode. I liked it a lot. I thought it was
okay.
Funny. I thought it was. You know what? I was watching it and I'm like, why is this better than any Discovery episode that we've seen lately? I liked the episode. It had more action, and it was done in one more so than Discovery or
Picard.
Maybe the Pike episodes. But yeah.
Well, and also, all right. So because honestly, I liked it better than any other Star Trek series I've yet to see that CBS has produced since this new regime has taken over. And I felt like 4 stars would make it sound like I liked it less if I had only given it 2 out of 4. So I went with, on a scale from 1 to 10, I gave it a 6, and I say that as an optimistic 6, personally. So what would you do on a scale of 1 to 10?
If we're going on the star scale, I would hit maybe 3.5 stars.
Okay.
And on a 6 to 10 scale, I would say it's around an 8 for me.
Okay.
There were some things that were hit or miss, and it's supposed to be funny in spots, but I guess it wasn't. But I found humor in it, and it wasn't like laugh out loud. Oh, that's like Rick and Morty funny type thing, but it stayed within the story. It was the adventure of the story, and it was funny to the to the plot, I thought.
Fair enough. And I'm even going to start putting up people's thoughts. Langley says, I was really excited for this premise, but I was sadly very, very disappointed by this first episode. I think I smiled once at a joke. Smiled, not laughed. I hope it improves drastically, moving forward. And Blaine says, I thought it was a lot better than I expected. Based on that trailer, the trailer editing didn't reflect the show's actual comedic timing and sensibilities. Well,
is that a good or a bad thing? That's what I want to know.
I talked to Blaine this morning, and he liked it, but he liked it enough, and he liked it more than I did. I don't know if he liked it as much as you did. Maybe he'll chime in. But yeah, I'm kind of with Langley. I didn't hate it, but I hope it improves. And we'll go through positive stuff. But Mike McMahon, you mentioned Rick and Morty. Mike McMahon created it. Big Rick and Morty writer. Was told by the Benson sisters that this is a guy that loves Star Trek, and you're not going to be disappointed. I don't know how much of the series they got to see because they worked on the first season of Star Trek Prodigy, the Nickelodeon cartoon.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I got to say the reason why I only gave it 6 out of 10 and not a higher grade was I just like Langley said, I thought it was mildly funny. A lot of things that they thought, oh, these are hilarious, as I said on Twitter and Facebook, speaking loudly and speaking quickly does not make a non-joke funny. And I think there was just, hey, look, I'm with the bat laugh. Oh, and it's like,
I thought that was funny, especially when she cut into his leg. I thought,
well, yeah, I didn't mind that part, but or when she's drunk and look, it's Robbie Liddell. Hey, it's actually blue or what? I'm like, all right, easy, low hanging fruit.
I mean, I thought in dealing with that, it came right off the bat. Those things came right at the beginning. So I was like, all right, hopefully it'll get better than this. I kind of found that humorous, especially when she cut into him. I'm like, oh, okay. Later on when he wasn't feeling well, what's his name? Jack Ransom? No,
Ransom's the second in command.
Second in command, right.
Hold on.
I'm so horrible at names. I apologize.
Well, it's not an easy name either. It's Ensign Baumler.
Right.
Is your awkward white guy.
Yeah, when he was hurting later on, when they're on the planet, the hilarious line that made me laugh out loud was like, don't worry about it. When he yells about his bones, oh my bones, after being sucked by the spider, which I thought was a funny scene as well because
the spider scene was fun.
He was getting sucked in and out.
Sure.
And I thought that was funny. And when he comes out and he starts, complaining about his bones, she's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. The doc will wave a light over it. You'll be fine." That made me laugh.
No, I would say there were a couple funny things. High fives are not funny. Okay, I guess. Hey, we're really jazzed. And also, what was the other thing at the very beginning that I'm just like, okay, whatever. I guess this is supposed to be funny. Oh, when he's doing his captain's log, and he's like, well, we're supposed to do personal logs. It's like, yeah, they do personal logs. So again, it's like, hey, and it's like, I don't think you're that funny, Jimmy Cheap Laughs, but Mariner. But thanks for playing. I mean, I do. And that's always my thing. Jimmy Cheap Laughs.
That's her name, Jimmy Cheap Laughs.
Jimmy Cheap Laughs is Mariner for me.
I think that she's set up to be like almost like one of these Star Trek hate viewers, where she's going through and making all these laughs and kind of poking fun at the whole thing. I don't know. I found it endearing. I liked it. I liked her character. I liked, especially when they explained that she's been on 5 other ships and she's like, I'm not dealing with this crap anymore. I don't really care, and then you find out big spoilers to find out who her mom and dad are.
Right.
I bought into that whole thing. I thought it was, I was expecting the worst because this morning, the first thing I saw when I woke up was your text saying, 6 out of 10. And I'm like, oh, great. He spoiled it already,
I did not spoil it.
I know.
And I know Blaine says he would give it 7.5 out of 10, but expected 4.4 to 5 based on the trailer. I agree with that. And he says, I anticipate it can grow to a 9 out of 10 after the growing pains all series go through. Right. Agreed. Hi, Jesse. Good to see you with a Vulcan salute. Good to see you, man. And, well, I guess, again, I point to other comedies that have done Star Trek jokes, like Frasier, and the engineer on Frasier that was a massive Star Trek fan.
Right.
And like when Roz would come in and he thought she looked hot, hey, set phasers on stunning. And it's like, let's, so that's what I'm saying, man. I'm like, I think there are better jokes to be had at Star Trek's expense. I'm not offended by the jokes or attempts. I want it to be a very funny comedy, and I do think the potential is there, but I got to be honest. It's kind of like that first season of the Orville where I'm like, all right, I guess that was funny, or mildly like the guy said, it made me smile. Didn't make me laugh. It made me smile. So yeah, my biggest problem with the show is the lack of real, like, hey, that was hilarious, especially given the level of humor we get from Rick and Morty and other shows. Like I said, there have been decades of television shows that have made fun of Star Trek in a much funnier way than this comedy expert, and he is a comedy expert.
I don't agree with you. You brought up the Orville, which I despise.
Yes.
I only watch the Orville just so I can argue with you about it. But I thought this was so much better than any episode of the Orville. Yeah, he did die.
I'll give you first season Orville. I think it was better than a lot of first season Orville. What'd you just say? I'm sorry, I stepped on you.
I was quoting that guy. Spock died and then he came back. How cool is that? And that was funny.
Yeah. Well, again, everything, and I said this on Twitter. I love that South Park has coined the phrase "member berries." Remember this? Wasn't that great? Remember this? Wasn't that great? All that stuff, great. They ticked off all the boxes. I'm totally fine with that. Like you said, I love the format that we actually had a story and that they're trying to do a story while being funny. And I like the idea, too, that in classic modern Star Trek, there's an A story, there's a B story. You might even argue there's a C story. Right. So I'm okay with all that. And I do like the irony of while the main crew is dealing with something like the zombie virus, that's not the story we're watching. I mean, it's there. I mean, It was there obviously as a a good portion of the show, and a lot of humor still came from it. And I like that. That was fine. But again, we're following the other guys. It reminds me of Life of Brian, where Jesus is giving the Sermon on the Mount, and we're seeing the people in like the last row,
right?
And they're not getting all the speech. What did he say? Something about the Greeks inheriting the earth. They get everything. crap. Again, that's funny stuff. And I would have liked to have seen more of that.
I would argue that there is some of that there. And again, it's first episode, but the top tier crew gets all the all the glory for everything that happened, which is hysterical.
Yeah, no, and I like that the guy's covered in the ooze. The ooze solves the virus, and of course the doctor's going to get the credit, and Ensign Knucklehead is going to be screwed. That was all fine. I want to really go back to the very beginning. The title sequence was outstanding. I loved it. It was great nods to all the shows. I love the Deep Space Nine nod, and all of a sudden the ship gets caught in the asteroid storm. I loved the Voyager nod. I love
it was also subtly telling you that this is all the problems that the lower decks are going to deal with when they hit that iceberg, when the big squid is hanging off the ass of the ship. Like, this is the crap that they're going to deal with.
Yeah.
But even that was kind of thought out.
I thought that was great. I thought all of that was great. I loved I love the scene of the Romulans fighting the Borg, and the ship's there, and then turns around and leaves. See, that's what I'm saying. There was good stuff in there, and that's why I give it 6 and not 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 or whatever. And I'm encouraged to come back. I would have come back even if it sucked, and I would have hate watched it.
Yeah, we would watch every episode, no matter how good or bad it was. Yeah,
as everyone knows, Klingon latrines. Well, and here, I agree with Al Sidel's, and forgive me, man, if I'm butchering your name, but yeah, Futurama did a funnier Star Trek. Absolutely, it did.
Okay, that's the thing. How funny were the Futurama episodes at the beginning?
I think very funny, frankly.
The very first episodes?
I think so. I like the pilot. I loved one of the early episodes when they're on the moon. I thought
we've got one episode in, so I'm going to reserve judgment. But yeah,
again, there was still funny stuff. I love that the design of the show, from the fonts they use for the credits to, again, I'll use live action comments rather than animation. The shot choices, all that stuff. It felt like the Next Generation, which is exactly what all of us that are frustrated with new Trek. It's like, this feels like Star Trek. Thank you.
Yep.
This is Star Trek. And it's good. It should be. And I loved all that. I think that's great. The ship looks amazing, exterior and interior. The crew looks fantastic. I like how they've incorporated the Picard Starfleet kind of uniforms. I'm totally cool with all that.
The guy with the cyborg not wanting to date that girl again because she wasn't into solving
the diagnostic problem.
Even though like they were talking about all dating throughout everything, I thought that was funny.
I thought that was okay. No, and whatever with his Vulcan cybernetics, we'll see. Right. I'm sure that'll provide some jokes. I'll tell you one joke that I'm already like, I'm sure it's going to be on every episode. They got the big Bajoran that's part of the bridge crew who always wants to jettison the warp core, and we saw it in the trailer. We saw it in this episode. We saw it in the tease for the next episode, and it's just like, all right. It's like that. That's a joke that's going to get old very fast. But okay.
Again, it's a recurring theme with that character. I get it.
I guess. I really think they missed an opportunity, frankly, making another. I have no problem. And again, I welcome diversity, and I'm glad that they're thinking along these lines. And it's great that Mariner is the problem solver. I think they really missed an opportunity not having her be a different ethnicity than Michael Burnham. And you've got another young black woman that is the lead. And it's like, okay, I think we got that covered. It would have been nice to maybe see an Asian character or a Latina character or something. I don't know. I just think that would have been an easy choice to change. And it's like, all right. Again, I'm not saying that in any disparaging way.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, to kind of give a little bit of diversity, but again, it's lower decks. But I mean, even the captain is the mom and stuff like that. But yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, they could have had they could have all been Middle Eastern. They could have all been Latin. They could have all been Asian. Any other ethnicity other than black. And again, I got no problem with it. But it's like, we already got a show like that. Thank you. And it's like, okay.
I wonder how long in production this was, but it probably did start after Discovery, right?
Bullshit. If that's the case, I'm calling bullshit. No, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying because Discovery. Don't forget, man. I mean, we forget Discovery didn't it debut in 17? I think so. And I mean, so it was on because it definitely did because 16 was the year that they announced it and everything. Mm-hmm. So no, sorry, man. No, it's been around for 4 years. And if Mike McMahon's thought was, hey, we're gonna have a female black lead, they could just say, we already got one of those. Let's keep it even more diverse. And again, sorry.
No, I see your point. I
territory.
understand it. Yeah, I see your point. And they could have done that.
Yep.
I'll agree with you there.
Yeah. Wayne, we warned you. Sorry, man. I like I said, I don't want to spoil, but we're talking, and what are you going to do?
Or he did see it. He did see it.
He said it's on at 10 p.m. tonight for us. So I'm assuming he's watching it over the air on space.
Yeah, but you said you talked to him and he saw it. So
what's that?
You said you talked to him and he saw it, though.
No, I talked to Blaine, Canadian Yoko.
Sorry. Yeah.
Not Wayne.
I apologize.
So, and he's got Crave. So, and yeah, Langley, I agree. Best modern Trek opening so far. I enjoyed seeing the ship among the stars, not just abstract images. I really like, by the way, both the Picard and the Discovery openings. Mm-hmm. I think they are interesting and novel. But again, it's like they just strayed too far from classic Trek, and including 80s, 90s, early 2000s Trek, and was just too different. And that's why I'm glad it's like, no, we want fucking Star Trek. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep swearing, but it's true. And it's
I don't mind that Discovery and Picard have gone down different paths. That's really not my problem. My problem with those is they're bad. They're like they're not good of anything. Not just Star Trek. I mean,
bad stories.
Yeah,
bad idea.
Orville. I know. I dislike Orville, but at least that's consistent in what it's doing. But these are just like kind of all over the place, and Michael Burnham here, there, in the future, there, doing this, there. Problem solving everything there instead of just the crew there. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like anything good is happening.
I agree with all of that. By the way, and I'm sure we'll talk more. I don't know if we will or won't talk more about it. But while we mentioned the Orville, I'm really bummed you sent me that article that this upcoming season 3 that's coming in a couple months.
It's going to be the last one.
Yeah, at least the last one on Hulu. I hope somebody picks up the Orville. And again, in these days of streaming, it's happened already. I mean, it happened with One Day at a Time, the Netflix version that Pop picked it up and revived it and everything. So, that's funny. Wayne's like, they could have been Canadian. They might still be Canadian, Wayne. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. Mariner and her family absolutely could still be Canadian.
But wasn't Kirk already Canadian? No, he was from Iowa.
He's from Iowa. He's from Iowa.
It's close enough, right? Canadian border.
On Stargate, the characters were Canadian.
MacGyver?
A couple of them were Canadian.
MacGyver? Was he Canadian?
No, I think he was Minnesota, but
I never watched
Stargate. The smartass doctor who kind of looked David, and I forget the name of the actor who played like the smartass doctor next to Colonel Carter. He was Canadian. And I mean, it's I don't know, another tangent. But yeah, I'm bummed about Orville, and I hope that Orville's season 3 is so good and does so well that another streamer will be like, yeah, we'll pick it up. And if not, 3 seasons is great and good for them. And I know you don't like it. I think the second season was much better. Mm-hmm. And I'm very interested to see what they do with this 3rd season. And again, back to Lower Decks, that they hit all the right story tropes. I like the doctor that's a cat. And that was funny. I liked when the Orion girl was in sick bay and she had to pump the heart. That was very funny.
Right.
And the guy's eyes getting big.
Yeah, she was very into her job. She was excited to be there. She's bright young cadet or whatever, and she loves being. Are you kidding me? I got to hold the heart. That was funny.
No, and I like that, and I liked almost Geordi, cybernetic guy that's not quite Geordi, but close enough. Right. I thought he was funny, and his date was funny. So I mean, yeah, and like I said, there were definitely things about it that I genuinely liked. I do think there's potential, and I do think that there's room for growth, and we'll see. And also, like I said, everyone is saying don't judge it wholly on the one episode. Watch the second episode as well. And it's like, yeah, no, you got me for the whole season. I'm not worried.
Absolutely. How many episodes are? Is it like a 10-episode deal or something like that?
10 or 13 here. I got a tab open. Let's see what episode. Does it say?
I like the fact that they referenced the monkeys as well. I think.
Oh yeah, that was cute. Yeah, that was cute. That's fine. That was easy.
But they're always going back to 20th century music. Don't they have anything in the 24th century?
Well, that's honestly, that's always been like kind of a Trek eye roll for me, where I'm like, yeah, all right, I get it. Yeah. I mean, the worst was when Next Generation would get so NASA specific, and you had ships named after John Glenn and other Mercury astronauts, and it's like, how come there's not a Gagarin Star Trek thing, the first man on Earth that made it to space? So I'm like, there should be a Gagarin somewhere, and there should be more nods to the Soviets and cosmonauts rather than just the American accomplishments. But I'm like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Just me.
Because they would have had to evolve past all that in the 24th.
Right. Yeah. It's one world. Yeah, it's one world. All of the Earth's accomplishments were, we can claim.
But Chekhov was still a jerk because you haven't read Shakespeare until you've read it in the original Russian.
No, the original
Klingon, right?
No, Scotch was invented by a little old lady in Leningrad,
right?
Which cracks me up. Yes. So, and again, that was of its moment, and you got to give Roddenberry credit putting a Soviet on the Enterprise. I think that's great. But yeah, like I said, the member berries were easy. That's like all that's easy.
Well,
even the trailer for the next episode that they're shipping some Klingon ambassador, and it's like whatever. It's like, of course you've heard of him before. Every Klingon name is a K with an apostrophe.
Apostrophe.
So that's okay. Mario lets us know that it's anything to do with the subject, Mario. Stick to gloves. Hulu has also canceled High Fidelity. Thank you, Mario.
Good.
Just busting your gloved ball there, Mario. Yeah. So
Hulu's canceling everything.
I get it with the streamers. I think TV shows, two things. One, because of streaming, comics suffer from this too, as you well know. When something sticks around too long, it may lose its audience to something shiny and new.
Mm.
And I think in this streaming environment, it's 3 seasons
a lot,
or even 1 season and out, or 2 seasons and out.
Mm-hmm.
So they're watching the numbers, and if something doesn't make sense, they'll invest the money in another show. God, they already announced for Hulu and Orville that they're putting the money into a Hitchhiker's Guide show.
Yeah, they said that all the sets, they're recycling them from the Orville to the Hitchhiker show. So,
Dante Hicks, do you think the cat doctor will be similar to Squanchy on Rick and Morty? Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. But I more importantly, I think it's almost a nod to, I forget her name. Let's see if everyone watching, how well they know their original Star Trek animated series. Was it? I can't think of her name. She was a bridge crew member that was kind of a lioness.
Yeah. I'm sure it has to be a callback to that, right? I mean, it's.
I think so.
Absolutely.
If not directly, then close enough to make us think of it. No, honestly,
I think the other thing that happens too is with each one of these characters, as their story grows within the episodes, they all take on their own personality. Like something will happen, and you'll incorporate that into future episodes. That's what I'm looking forward to. This is a first episode. I think it did a really good job of setting up all the characters, all of their, inner monologues or inner, desires for what's going on, and where they want to be. Like, Bolsonaro, what's his name? he wants to be a captain. He's doing his fake captain's
log. Yeah.
When he's in the holodeck and he goes, all right, let's see where you want to be. And he calls up the engineering, the
Yeah.
warp core. Like it's those small character things that I really miss in Star Trek, that they haven't been present in Discovery. I know we're veering off of Lower Decks, but
no. Let's talk about. I mean, let's talk about Trek in general.
The character where she had all the implants and stuff like that on Discovery, and then
Robot Girl,
and then they jettison her and stuff like that. Like, we're supposed to feel for her, like, after one episode of setting her up and then throwing her away, or for the story's sake, but still, there was no shock value to there, because I don't care about her. You didn't tell me about her before.
As I said, we spend more time on her funeral than Spock's funeral.
Exactly.
That's all you need to know. I mean, and again, and that's why I have faith in Mike McMahon enough, and I saw enough good in this first episode that it's like, okay, well, and I'm looking forward to watching Mariner's story with her mother and father, and why she's much more of an accomplished officer than what she's doing right now.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Those are the little character traits where she told you, like, I'd been on 5 different ships or whatever, I went from here to there. So she's got a whole bunch of backstory. And it's just that little seed that's planted here that you never know what that's going to wind up in the future. That's the stuff that I like. That's the stuff that I missed on some of the other shows. Ooh,
no, I agree.
Yeah, is she on the show?
He's making a reference to when we were talking about the monkeys, the 20th century, and in Star Trek 4, when when they're on the bus, and he's like, "Oh, you can find examples of that in some of the novels of Jackie Collins and actually, I think it was Jacqueline Suzanne or whatever." And the Giants,
right?
Which is, again, great moment and everything. Yeah, and Blaine is right. Obviously, I think it's either 10 or 13 episodes, but we're going to get a new episode of Star Trek all the way through the end of the year. And then because it's going to roll right into season 4 of Discovery, which is great news for us, because we will talk more about, we will do our best to be on weekly or close enough to weekly to discuss these episodes and hate watch Discovery season 3 and enjoy what we like about Lower Decks and compare the two. Honestly,
I'm ever the optimist, and now that they've been in Discovery, they've been shunted to the future. Hopefully, it'll be an all new, better show.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm interested to see what that means. By the same token, I really hope that a lot more fans that were hating or on the fence about Picard and Discovery like Lower Decks enough that the powers that be listen. And it's like, no, we want this. We don't want, it's okay to have a general story arc for the season. Give us more problems of the week. And this is to tease, because it's going to be a couple weeks. Yesterday I talked to Joe Henderson, the showrunner of Lucifer, and season 5 is going to 5A, because they broke up 16 episodes into 2 parts. The first 8 episodes are going to air and drop August 21st. And what I noticed was, and including season 4, which was its first season on Netflix, they still make Lucifer as an episodic show. There's still a problem in each episode to solve. And I asked him about that, just in general, because there is this whole thing of, are you watching one big story to binge, or are you watching episodes that are connected and everything, and just what's your writer's fault? There's no right answer to that. Why are you choosing A as opposed to B? And he said, he goes, we're trying to do both. We're trying to do, cater to both. And I think you see it in Lucifer. And I just think that Star Trek had, man, I'm sorry. I think it's easier for them to write one big story rather than, a problem each week. Now they've teased that supposedly Pike, whenever it gets up and running, will have a problem of the week.
Show.
And more of a procedural and stuff. Langley wondered if Morel is our cat character from the original animated series. Yes, I believe so.
What I was going to say is that, Rick and Morty does that pretty well.
No, Morez. It was Morez.
Oh, there you go.
I think Blaine's right. I'm sorry. Go on.
I was going to say that Rick and Morty does that, fairly well, where each episode is individualized, but you have callbacks to things that happened before or that come back here and there, but it's a good episodic show to watch. So if you've never watched an episode before, you could come in. I mean, it's kind of hard to do that on CBS All Access. On other networks, I guess in Canada or whatever, where you're watching it and it airs weekly. You could come in on a third or fourth episode and kind of get what's happening within that episode without having to see the other ones if you didn't see them. But we're stuck with CBS All Access where we're going to watch them in order. So for us, it's not a problem.
Now, Mario asks, do you think Lower Decks is worth it to get CBS All Access?
Just for that? I don't know. I don't know.
I agree. And by the way,
I got it because Trek.
Yeah.
Trek is on there. I mean, they have other stuff where I'm watching old episodes of Mission Impossible and stuff like that. But I got it to watch Trek. And that's the only reason I got it, really.
And it's interesting because I think since the Viacom CBS deal to reunite is underway and in effect now, CBS All Access suddenly added a lot more programming, a lot more library stuff of Paramount films and Paramount made CBS shows and other older CBS shows. So that's interesting. Frasier is now on CBS All Access.
Okay.
And
that's
a lot of
Paramount show.
What's that?
That's a Paramount show, right?
Right. And a lot of classic television shows that aren't from the last 5 years are up there without commercials. Because when Lower Decks was done, I was making breakfast and all of a sudden Frasier popped up and it was the first episode. And I'm like, I haven't seen this in a while. And I was curious if they'd break for a commercial or anything. And it didn't. So that was it. And like The Odd Couple is on there, which was also a Paramount show. What's the weird one? They've got Happy Days up there, but literally only the second season when it was still a single camera show. And it's before Fonzie moved upstairs to above the garage. So it's still like early Happy Days, which I love both versions. I loved when it was the Richie and Botsy teenage show, and I liked it the first few seasons with the Fonzie.
I'm convinced that they don't show the first season because that's that whole thing about the older brother not existing. So it's a government cover-up, I believe, which is why they don't have the first season.
Wayne points out that, we cared about Ensign Rowe on Next Generation because of the little moments with her. Well, the shift in Star Trek, and again, I'm sure a lot of Trek fans already know this, but Michael Piller, one of the main producers in the third season, is like, it can't all be about the aliens. Our characters are too rigid and we don't know enough about them. We need an A and B story. We need the problem of the week, but let's also have a character story where one week Worf has a problem, another week Deanna Troi has a problem, Dr. Crusher has a problem, whatever. And we got to know and love these characters. As I said earlier today to, I think, either you or Blaine, we've got 2 seasons of Discovery. I still don't know the goddamn bridge crews names. And in fact, when they did you watch, and again, this is why I'm glad we're discussing all this now. Did you watch the Comic-Con Star Trek panel?
No, I didn't. I know you did. So.
Yeah. 2 things about it. One, which I love, CBS must have some sort of algorithm to trigger if someone is using footage and it's not running on their streaming channel or websites or whatever. And for several hours after Comic-Con posted the Star Trek panel, they yanked it down. CBS's algorithms told them to yank it down. So even though it was on the schedule for that day, people couldn't see it for a couple hours. So that cracked me up. Then they did. It was over an hour long.
They've done their job too well, Jim. Yeah,
exactly. They had a table reading with the Discovery cast of the first act of either the very last episode or part 1. I think it was part 2 of the very last episode, the first act. And they had literally like 15 or so, like over a dozen actors reading their lines and stuff. And even, oh, damn it, I forget her name now. The stand-up comic that was the engineer, Jet Reno or whatever, damn it. Shame on us.
Yeah. Well,
Tig Notaro.
Yes, that's it.
She was there. Everybody was there, and I forget one actor that wasn't there, and the moderator took over that person's part. So they spent about They spent about 20 or 25 minutes on each show, and they did that, and then they cut to a Picard cast, and Patrick Stewart was there. And then they also did a Lower Decks segment, and they showed trailers and stuff. They showed a trailer for Lower Decks there. The only real news was that they announced the name of the Nickelodeon show, Star Trek Prodigy.
The Prodigy, right?
Which the Benson sisters, like I said, they're part of the writing staff.
I look forward to them on an episode.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I don't know with their non-disclosures how much they would be able to say, but I would love that to happen. And I'm sure if they're able to do it, they would do it.
Yeah.
But then also the crazy thing is, so they have this Comic-Con panel. The week after the Comic-Con panel, that's when they announce, oh, by the way, Discovery's coming back this day. And it's like, why didn't you include that in the goddamn panel? That's so stupid.
Maybe they didn't know.
Possibly, I guess. Because I know one thing that had kept them from scheduling Discovery was there was still post-production stuff that needed to be done. They didn't have any of the music laid down for the all the footage had been shot, but they just hadn't mixed it all together yet. Mm-hmm. And obviously that's something they could do during COVID and everything. So that's good. But so that it was just another like, oh, CBS, you idiots! Once again, you're fucking up. I don't know, drives me crazy. I we'll see. I mean, again, I guess we'll see with the new stuff, and I mean, God only knows. You know what sucks? Oh, well, actually, I'll save that. I was going to say something about Lucifer. I don't know if I'm allowed to, so I won't say it right now. I'll wait till the episode airs. But it's interesting. I think I like this. I hope it inspires more animated shows while we're locked down.
Yeah.
Why should there only be 2? Let's have another adult cartoon. I hope, and that's why I really want Lower Decks to be great. I really want it to succeed. I want it to inspire more potential shows. I want, and again, I don't understand, and I think it's such low-hanging fruit. Why isn't there a Starfleet Academy show?
Right.
And honestly, had they not stopped with Enterprise, I really was. And in fact, when DS9 wrapped up and they said O'Brien was going back to Starfleet to teach at the Academy, I'm like, well, there's a TV show waiting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Let's see a Captain Worf animated show. I mean, I know, he's been pitching that for years and stuff. It's very interesting. And I also hope that they open it, especially with Mike McMahon seemingly being allowed to do his own thing and not follow what the Kurtzman led. I mean, Kurtzman is listed as a producer. I imagine he will always be. I don't know how much direct involvement he had in Lower Decks. And I don't mean to like hang the target on him exclusively, right. But just like Rick Berman was always, the main guy behind the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s Star Trek and stuff.
Right.
Until he leaves or steps down or whatever, he's the guy. So succeed or fail, blame him or praise him.
Right.
But I hope that more voices and more different voices are part of whatever productions succeed this one and these current shows. So Langley, I think DS9 and the 4th season of Enterprise had the best balance of standalone episodes mixed with serialized arcs. And I agree. Absolutely. I mean, good Lord, Deep Space Nine was, I mean, there were other shows like Wise Guy and Prophet and a few other shows that would do like a season-long story arc or half a season-long story arc and everything. Right. That was amazing. I completely agree.
I mean, I liked Lower Deck. I thought the humor caught me. I thought it was funny. The big giant spider scene when it was sucking him in and out, and then he was just sitting there, lying there, taking it at the end. And then he came out without his underwear on. I thought that was funny. I mean,
it was all right.
There was that scene in the holodeck where all the naked guys were working out, which I thought was funny too.
Yeah, it was all right. Those were okay.
Yeah. See, you and I don't have the same sense of humor. That's
not true. That is not true. That's so funny. Maybe we can get Kess back or Gary 7.
Yeah.
So Kess, man, she's like Jennifer Lean was her name. She's, I think, like fallen on hard times because I think if she had her act together a little bit more, you'd likely see her doing conventions and things like that, and making money.
Oh yeah, I didn't know
But
that.
I think I think unfortunately, much like as we mentioned, Happy Days, I think she's gone the way of Aaron Moran and had kind of a rough life post Star Trek. So yeah, that's unfortunate. See, I can be compassionate. I'm not just here to shit on on Star Trek like every week. Yeah, I don't know, man. I forget the name of it, and maybe it'll come up here on the chat. But I was talking to Dan Slott this weekend, and he said there's a show on Hulu, I want to say Solar Disruptions, something like that.
Solar Opposites.
Solar Opposites. Thank you. I'm hearing great. Have you watched it? I'm hearing great things about that.
Yep.
Good show.
Yeah, actually, I think it's a little. I want to see what happens next season with it. Some of the things were a little like rote for me, but it was funny. I mean, getting past the first or second episode, then you kind of get into the characters and what's happening and stuff like that. And I found some of it pretty funny. Would I say it was like great show? No, but I found it humorous enough where it made me want to watch it. I think it's only 8 episodes or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, if you have Hulu, check it out.
Yeah, and I will check it out. I hadn't been aware of it, and Dan's the guy who got me into Rick and Morty, and I love Rick and Morty. I think season 4 was another excellent season.
I think it's some of the same guys that made Rick and Morty. Did Solar Opposites.
That's what Dan told me. Yes. Mm-hmm. So, no, that's all cool, and I didn't care for TNT's sci-fi show. Either Outer Space or Inner Space, or it wasn't Inner Space. I can't remember the name of it. Outer Darkness, maybe. Which again, I might be confusing with John Layman's comic book. I'm not really sure. It's going to be interesting to see if they do a Lower Decks comic book, because I will say the Rick and Morty comics have been very funny.
I haven't read any of them.
They're really good.
Oh, really? Well.
Yeah, Teenie Howard wrote some that I thought were really funny, and Kyle Starks did some that I thought were really funny. So, yeah, and I mean, that'll be interesting if Lower Decks does well enough that it inspires IDW to do a comic series or not. Because I think, again, going back to Simpsons, I think there were excellent comic books all throughout the life of the Simpsons comic book.
Well, they did well enough to keep doing them, so...
Yeah, they almost had 300 issues or whatever of the main comic. So, Wayne makes an observation. Yes, indeed, the animated series of Star Trek was a very good show. Roddenberry didn't consider it canon, but I know a lot of fans do.
Yeah,
and again, I point to that great episode of the original animated series Yesteryear, where Spock goes back in time and is his own older cousin and helps him through the growing pains of dealing with his emotions and stuff. And they did it much better than the JJ movies. So much better than the JJ movies. So
you figure, the animation there, to save money, they use a lot of the same shots and in the different planets or settings or whatever, because it's easier to change out the cells or whatever. That was the way they did it. But some of those stories are really good.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and they had real science fiction writers writing them,
right?
And
I remember have some of the writers from the show, I don't want to say
Dorothy Fontana wrote an episode.
I was going to say DC Fontana wrote an episode or two, right?
Yep, and I want to say Samuel Peoples, who was a great sci-fi writer. Chekhov, Walter Koenig actually wrote an episode, even though he wasn't on the show. He ended up writing an episode. Mm-hmm. And Lou Scheimer, the guy in charge of Filmation, he's like, as far as I was concerned, we were making the 4th season of Star Trek.
Right.
And it wasn't.
Are those on CBS All Access or?
Yes.
See, I haven't seen them in years, and I got to go back and watch those.
Yeah, I mean, there's it's hit and miss, but there's a lot of really good ones.
Right.
And I mean, it feels like Star Trek
the original series. There's some hit and miss episodes.
Of course. I know.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there are.
I got to go back and watch them. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So eventually, we're assembling a group to rewatch the original series, and we'll make that happen maybe in a while. I've always wanted an animated Star Trek series as an anthology series, utilizing every a Trek actor and character, a serious tone Star Trek show that tells stories all over the franchise like the original series. Or the animated series.
Shh! Don't tell anybody. Let's pitch it.
Oh no! I think we've all wanted that, and I agree. Yeah. And especially after Enterprise, and when they auctioned off all the sets and costumes, it's like, yeah, that's a missed opportunity, because I thought Star Trek was enough in the zeitgeist that you could do an anthology show live action.
I don't know.
Here's a Klingon episode. Here's a Romulan episode. Things.
I don't know if I told you, but I went on vacation a few weeks ago. Went to St. George, and I went to the Star Trek Museum in Ticonderoga.
Yeah, talk about that. We haven't talked about it, I don't think, on the show.
We haven't here, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so. No,
but I went to the museum, and it was kind of cool. They recreated the entire set or sets. So you got to be in Jim Kirk's boudoir, as it were, and they told little stories behind the scenes of in one of the couple of the seasons, you see this little thing behind him, like this fertility god thing, and this box and stuff like that, and then it's missing in the third episode. And they tell the story of how Shatner was on set, and the president of his fan club was coming down to see him or something like that, and he forgot to get her something, so he gave her something from on the set, so it was missing. They talked about the mirror episode and how how you could tell it was the mirror episode is that the light, the mirror in one of the rooms was upside down, and then in subsequent seasons they forgot to turn it around. So then there's speculation as to whether the rest of the season was mirror or not.
Hilarious.
But one of the things I found out is, because I asked him, because I'm always a curious type, and I ask questions, and I said, you're in the middle of upstate New York, and I'm sure that when you get William Shatner here, because they had him, and he was supposed to be coming this month, but obviously because of COVID, I think they postponed it to November, but who knows if that'll happen.
Sure.
But they get quite a few people, and I've seen pictures of the amount of people that show up in this small little one-horse town up there. But I said, on a day-to-day basis, are you making enough money here? Do you get enough visitors? And they're like, well, we do pretty well, so much so that the guy who owns a museum just bought the building next door, and he's going to be creating a next generation sets on there. And I'm like, wow. So
yeah,
you have to be doing well enough, I guess, if you bought out this, I think it was a supermarket that they're in, and they built the sets into this supermarket, but now he's bought the building next door and he's expanding out. I guess you're doing okay.
That's awesome. And I remember in the 90s and early 2000s going to the Las Vegas Hilton,
right,
and doing the Star Trek experience rides that included walking through the Enterprise D Bridge, and it was at full scale. I talked to Brian Hitch, the great comic book artist, and he did a lot of design work for the new Doctor Who, and he was telling me that a lot of the sets, a lot of the TARDIS set pieces are actually 3/4 the size, and with
force perspective.
Force perspective. Yeah, they're able to get away with that. And I mean, literally, were the Enterprise bridge and everything, they were all fully life size and everything.
Well, again, you're talking about the 60s when they built this, and these were built from the original plans, so they were all life size. There were little things too, like you walk through McCoy's office, and one of the things he has in his laboratory or medical bay or whatever is all these vials and then spray bottles. And I think we talked about this. I don't know if we talked about it on the air, but one of the things that Gene Roddenberry saw was he went to the World's Fair the year before Star Trek went on the air, or the year of, I forget. And he saw these spray bottles and he freaked out. And he's like, oh my God, this is like the wave of the future. This is, like an amazing piece of thing. And he had to buy them. And he spent a lot of money buying this set of spray bottles. And I got 15 of them in my laundry room here, but he went out and he bought them for the set, and they're in the medical bay and stuff like that.
Hilarious. That's fantastic. Well, and I think everyone knows too that they bought salt shakers, futuristic salt shakers, to use in the cafeteria, on the Enterprise, and nobody knew what they were. So they ended up buying, because there's that first episode, the man trap,
Mm-hmm.
with the salt monster and everything.
Yep.
So they had a need for salt shakers, and it looked too futuristic. So they ended up using the salt shakers in sickbay as more medical equipment for
exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's funny. Blaine, last I heard, Jennifer Lean, Cass, was going to prison for showing up naked at her 10-year-old neighbor's birthday party.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my. Oh, my. And
Did
then
they hire her to do that? I hope not.
What's that? Yeah, they hired her.
Yeah. I hope
Wrong
not.
party. Langley, I love Solar Opposites. It's very funny, but nihilistic as hell in the same way that Rick and Morty is. Okay, very
right. Yeah, but Rick and Morty is a little bit more endearing in their nihilism than Solar Opposites was, I think. I think that's kind of what turned me off a little bit to it, but it is a funny show. It's funny.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. Now I'm going to really make an effort to watch that. Yeah, what else? I'm trying to think if there's any other Trek news or anything. No movement on a new Trek feature film, unfortunately. Yeah, I can't think. I mean, again, obviously Picard season 2 and Strange New Worlds is all on hold until production is able to resume for live action. I did mention, I think, when we talked about the trailer for Lower Decks, that I had spoken to shame on me, Kevin Smith's co-host on his podcast. Shame on me, man. Oh my God, he's been on Word Balloon several times, and I really enjoy talking to him. And right now, in my usual stupor, a name isn't coming to mind. Mark Bernardin. God damn. I'm so sorry, Mark. Should you ever hear or watch this, because you really are one of my favorite guests to have on. But he's joined the writing staff for Picard, and I had asked him how much they're going to continue the plot lines that were dangling from season 1, and he wasn't really able to say. But he gave an interesting answer about exploring Picard's humanity moving forward, or lack thereof, for those who haven't seen the wrap up. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting, and also what little Patrick Stewart has said, both on the Comic-Con at Home panel, and then also there was a Ready Room Will Wheaton episode. Yeah,
say Will.
Exactly. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. We'll see what happens whenever that comes back. But yeah, there you go. I can't think of anything else, man. I haven't read any Star Trek novels or comics. I have a bunch of IDW Year 5 issues sitting on my Kindle that I haven't sat down to read yet. The ones I have read have been excellent. And I got to say, the IDW, man, if you're missing classic Trek in any iteration, I absolutely recommend the IDW comics in general. Yeah, I think all the
like Byrne or different people.
The Byrne ones are amazing.
Yeah.
Man, especially my favorite miniseries he did was Leonard McCoy Frontier Doctor, which is what McCoy was doing before the first motion picture. And that was fantastic. Gary Seven comics were really good that he did. But no, the Tipton brothers were writing a lot of, I believe it was the Tiptons. They were writing a lot of the comics. Mike Johnson, who came out of J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot office, wrote a lot of the Kelvin Universe comics, which are superior to the Kelvin Universe movies and much more real Star Trek feeling than what we got in the 3 movies. And J.K. Woodward doing an excellent job painting a lot of the interiors and the covers and doing amazing stuff. They've done some great Mirror Universe issues. And right now,
I want to pick them up and read them, but I know I'm never going to get to them with all the other stuff I have to read that I'm not getting to.
Well, I'm always jonesing for new Star Trek stories. So, and again, I always kind of keep my eye open on the pocketbooks or whatever is publishing the paperback novels these days. But I always keep my eyes open because I'm telling you, I love Trek. Obviously, that's why we're always talking about it. So there you go, man. Again, I'd say 6 out of 10, but an optimistic 6 out of 10 for me. And Franco said an 8 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. Hopefully Mitch's power situation will beam him off the planet.
Yeah.
Or actually just bring the shuttle and we'll get him off the planet.
I was on an away mission too, which is why I didn't shave, but I made it back to on deck. But poor Mitch hasn't made it back on deck yet.
I know, I feel bad, man. I'll promote here because I really should start talking about it because it's just over a week away. Mainframe Comic-Con is an online convention that's happening August 15th and 16th, and that's Saturday and Sunday. I'm hosting a lot of panels. I'm co-sponsoring the convention. And among the panels that I'm doing a great Superman writers panel that will feature Dan Jurgens, Jerry Ordway, Paul Kupperberg, and the great Elliot S. Maggin. So we will literally have 50 years of Superman writers all together. Not bad. For 80 years of Superman, we're covering from the Bronze Age to the modern age. And that's going to be an amazing conversation, and I look forward to that. Also, another great panel that my buddy Susan Eisenberg, you are a Wonder Woman. And man, she came through. She got the whole Justice League animated cast to get back together. We're going to do a panel with them. We're going to do a table reading of a great JLU episode. And also Andrea Romano is going to be joining us as well, directing the panel, directing the table read. I am going to ask a couple questions and get the hell out of the way to let fans ask questions and let Andrea direct. And I am so excited about this. But even
she is such a sweetheart. I met her and I got to gush over her at a Warner Brothers party, and I'm like, "Hi, Andrea. I'm a really big fan."
And even beyond Justice League and all the great DC animated television shows and movies that she was involved in, she directed the Boondocks. Mm-hmm. And I mean, going back literally to like 70s Scooby-Doo, and just was with, Hanna-Barbera before Warner Brothers Animation proper. Yeah. So an amazing career, and everybody just has tremendous respect for her. I've enjoyed my 2 conversations with her over the years, and she's just, she's amazing. She really is amazing. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about it. And that was all Susan, man. She got the band back together, including Carl Lumley, Martian Manhunter, who did one convention and didn't want to do them for a while. And Susan and the rest of the cast convinced him to come back. Also, Michael Rosenblum, not only the Flash, but of course from Smallville, our own Lex Luthor, one of the great Luthors on screen. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be there as well. And everybody, everybody unfortunately except, pardon?
Yeah, I was going to say you've got everybody except for Kevin, right?
Yeah, everybody except Kevin Conroy, and who knows, maybe he'll change his mind. And I think just because he's always in such demand,
right,
that I can appreciate that he can't say yes to everything, so that's okay. But man, not bad. I think we got 6 out of 7 or 7 out of 8 as far as the original cast. Possibly Clancy Brown, which would be great to get animated Luthor as well.
Happy Halloween, ladies.
Absolutely, man. So, a couple questions at the end here. And Michael Cooper, what happened to the Nicholas Meyer Khan project? Canceled? Sure seems like it, man. Mm. That's something they haven't talked about since the pre-Discovery premiere days. And I think unfortunately, it fell through the cracks. Where's Section 31? Where's that stupid show? I mean, I'm sorry. Again, it's like some of this stuff, you figure they talked about it to entice investors, because as my buddy Rob Burnett always likes to point out, studios are not sitting on a pot of gold. They need investors to loan them the money to make shit. Mm-hmm. And especially in the movie business. And I would imagine it's like that for the television business as well. And I mean, between the clumsiness of CBS and Viacom getting back together again, and also just, I mean, we saw how Netflix rejected Star Trek Picard. They rejected Lower Decks too, by the way. And that's another thing that we haven't mentioned, was that Lower Decks still does not have international partners. So really, it's right now just a North American product for the US and Canada to enjoy. It is what it is. And I am sure eventually, especially given if the thing is popular, look at Harley Quinn. And Harley Quinn was always exclusively on DC Universe. And then all of a sudden, a Sci-Fi Channel got it and ran the first season. And now it's on HBO Max.
I think also because DC Universe is going away from all indicators. it's going to be they're going to be folding in much of the show. If they were smart, what they would do is take that comics aspect, the comics reading aspect from DC Universe, and fold that into HBO Max as well.
Completely agree.
Who knows what's going to happen? But because they stopped taking yearly subscriptions on DC Universe.
That's right.
So that means it's going to go away. Well, one of these months is just going to say bye-bye. See ya.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll give people enough notice. But yeah, and also my guess is subscribers will be folded into HBO Max in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's these streamers really do. They have trouble. Well, they're tough. I'm sure both the platforms where they can stream are tough to negotiate with. And, so, I mean, it's just not all, of course, welcome. Yeah. Jump right on.
Yeah.
And it's, it's not on Roku. It's not on Amazon Prime, things like that. So it's not easy. All right, there you go. So we'll talk next week about episode 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks. I hope you enjoyed it. Always a pleasure, Francis. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And more Word Balloon Live coming up later. In fact, tonight I'll be talking to Gabe Hardman about The Outer Limits. We are doing a rewatch, and we'll be discussing episode 1 and the creation of Outer Limits and what went into it. Joseph Stefano, the great writer of Psycho and other great movies and things, and Leslie Stevens were the two masterminds behind The Outer Limits. But we will be doing an episode-by-episode rewatch, starting with episode 1, featuring the great Cliff Robertson, Peter Parker's father, or Uncle Ben, rather, in the Tobey Maguire movies. So I hope you'll join us for that. And tomorrow night, a fun talk with Mike Cronenberg and his brother Steve. You got a brother named Steve? We're going to be talking about horror movies, noir movies, boxing, and a lot of the other fun pop culture. And
also maybe this weekend, maybe maybe.
Yes. Yeah, we're shooting for either Saturday or Sunday, hopefully.
We'll see.
And we'll try and get the boys all together for that. Mm-hmm. So until next time, stay safe, stay happy,